Heavy D, is it good to you? There is an old adage, I'm sure many of us have heard it, that the key to a man's heart is through his stomach. In other words, if you want a man, the notion says that you must learn how to cook your way to his heart. I don't believe that that's necessarily true, but you've heard it nonetheless. I will say flatly that the key to being nominated as a person in the modern Republican Party, particularly in a primary, is your willingness to do and say incendiary, horrible, racist things about black and brown people. You look no further than Donald Trump when he said that the Mexicans were rapists and murderers. Look how racist he was, and look how favorably he is viewed. Look at what Ron DeSantis, who was his second runner-up, who was probably never, obviously he's probably never going to be president, but what was his entree? His war on woke. He constantly shouts that this is where woke goes to die. Look at Vivek, I don't even know his name. I call him the Turmeric Taliban. But even his entree into the ascension in the Republican primary is his willingness and ability to say horribly racist things. You will not get far if you don't say those things. Look at the people who are at the bottom, hanging out at the bottom of the Republican primary. Look what they didn't say, and look where they are. Now, look at it as recently as Sarah Huckabee telling you that she was banning Black history because she believed it promoted hate. In June of 2015, a young man, Dylan Roof, came into a church in Charleston, South Carolina, and murdered nine men and women. He was an avowed white supremacist. He wore the flag of Rhodesia. He painted swastikas everywhere. Not a word is said in the modern Republican Party about white supremacists. Last year, in May 2022, a racist white supremacist with swastikas everywhere walked into a store, a grocery store in Buffalo, and slaughtered 10 people. Almost a year to the date later, somebody, a young white man, an avowed white supremacist, attempts to walk into an HBCU, is rebuffed there. It's called, the police call him. He walks into a Dollar General. He slaughters 3 people. What these people have in common is that they are avowed white supremacists. They have said what they are. They have access to guns. Dylan Roof was under a drug charge at that time. Still was able to get a gun. The young man in Buffalo had mental problems. Still able to get a gun. The monster in Jacksonville had mental problems, still able to get a gun. All of them have said and clearly stated what their missions are: to kill and hate as many black people as possible. And the silence you hear from many members of the Republican Party is because they know that to win, you have to have white supremacists vote for you. You have to have it, or you will not win. Nikki Haley took great pains to say that she would pardon the murder of Daniel Penny on that train. She made sure she was loud, right? She said it immediately. Listen to her silence now. Even though something like that happened at a state she was running while she was running it. Listen to Ron DeSantis had the temerity to take him and his plastic ass wife to an HBCU and pretend like they hadn't set the table for this. Ron DeSantis declared a war on woke. Ron DeSantis said it's where woke goes to die. And when you start a war, what happens? People die. And now you get to pretend like you didn't set the table for this. You made it easier for Floridians to go grab guns. You made them easy for them to go grab guns and walk around with it. You made no stipulation for mental health. And you knew what would happen. You don't get to pretend now like you're shocked. The one thing you do not get to do in America is to be shocked when white men who are angry and disenfranchised and disenchanted hate black people and murder them because of that. You don't get to be shocked when you pretend that you're silent. You say nothing. You set the table for this. And very much, I say this out loud, Ron DeSantis and Sarah Huckabee have blood on their hands for setting an environment where this is tolerated and not decrying it. Listen how silent they are. Nobody's saying anything because they know they have to walk a fine line. They have to pretend like they're insulted, but not infuriate a base that has to vote for them. Ron DeSantis, when he went to the HBCU, which he doesn't even believe is valid, he doesn't believe it exists, He believes slavery had benefits. He's at an HBCU and promising to protect them. From what? From what? From him and his ilk. From the acceptance and the propagation of white supremacy. Ron DeSantis has made it harder to learn history and easier to repeat it. And you have the temerity to sit at an HBCU and pretend like you're shocked. And that is why people booed you. Because in your heart of hearts, what little you have left, you know that your ilk and many members of the Republican base propagate this. They accept it. It is baked into the equation. You must hate or pretend to hate black and brown people to even register. Name me one right now that is doing well in the upper echelon that hasn't said something incendiary. So when you take you and your plastic ass wife to an HBCU and promise to protect them, remember it is you that they need protection from. It's a little note from the GED section. We got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. It's the D.L. Hughley Show.